So what are you waiting for? Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. Come into your local store today.
Warning. The show you're about to hear has been prepared by some of the best talent in the industry we could get. For the money. Do not attempt this at home. Doing so would only expose just how useless and brainless these people really are.
It's Wednesday morning pretty much everywhere. If you missed anything from yesterday's program, you can pick up the podcast, that at WRUK.com. Now, yesterday was New Turd Tuesday. I did give you a new Daughtry. That was called The Dam. I voted not a turd here. I guess I fantastic at his job. Not being as good as Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean you can't play NFL quarterback, right? It's kind of one of those things. Now, I did get asked this yesterday. If somebody just handed you that without the Lincoln Park name attached, do you think it's as good as you do right now? Or does the Lincoln Park name help carry it over? Well, look, I want to be fair to anything. So clearly there's going to be a smidge of that thrown in, right? There would be. There's going to be a smidge of that thrown in. I think my counter to that argument would be that Lincoln Park became famous for a reason. And it's not because of the name of the band was so good. It's because they knew how to give you pleasure. And I think part of what's happening now is because Chester passed and he does the best parts of every song, we kind of want him to be responsible for all of Lincoln Park being great. And what might be happening here is not enough credit could be thrown Mike Shinoda's way by everybody, myself included. I don't know, man. I thought that song was all right. I voted not a turd there. I actually feel like, now I did like the Emptiness Machine better. The first one I heard, I like that one a little bit better, but I don't know what anybody's problem with Heavy as the Crown is. So we got into that yesterday. Also, talked a lot of Pete Rose, Dikembe Mutombo. We've had a few more celebrity deaths happen last night and yesterday afternoon and the like, so we will get into those this morning. 9 a.m. this morning, a doctor in a for his role in the death of Matt. Possible that SNL, Saturday Night Live, is funny again. It might have happened. We have to get into to the SNL premiere for not one but two different reasons, and I think they probably handled both pretty well. We'll talk about that coming up 8 o'clock. Also, you think things are expensive now? Oh, just wait. Things are going to get crazy expensive over the next couple of months. Over a story that, yes, is being talked about, it's being reported on. I'm surprised it's not a bigger story. We already got some conspiracy theories out there about the port strike, and we'll talk about those a little bit, that at 7 o'clock. And again, even though you walk out of college and you owe hundreds of thousands of dollars a lot of times in loans, most college graduates still today are saying, yep, even with my loan and what I owe, my college degree was worth it, and I'm glad I did it. I think they're mostly right, and we'll talk about that a little bit in the 7 o'clock hour as well. I did make mention of it. I was called out yesterday by somebody who said, you're too nice to this female lead singer in Linkin Park thing. You're too nice to it. And you got to step outside of the radio bit from it and be happy about the song. Like you're glossing over an issue here, and I've been called out on the mat on this, and they may be right. So let's talk about it a little bit next on the Stansberry Show.
The Stansberry Show.
Hey, we're listening to him. He must be doing something right.
On Rock 106.9.
I got an email from the boss this morning I don't want. He had to send it last night, I would imagine. I didn't look at the timestamp, but I would assume where you work, you have to take some training probably a couple of times a year, right? Especially if you work for a corporation. Code of conduct or, something like that. We have that too, obviously. And I don't know how it works for you, but if you're a member of management, one of the ways you are judged is how fast your crew gets stuff like that done. And I was told that once upon a time, years ago, by an old PD I had. And I was like, oh, okay, so always stay on top of that and, try to stay off those lists, stay off that radar. And, if you're not getting them yelled at, they'll not be yelling at you. Now, he didn't yell at me. But in the title of the email, it just says, a favor. Right? And I was like, well, this ain't a favor. You would have just texted me. Right? And in the email, it just says, hey, man, can you just handle that training that you got hanging out in your learning tool program? Could you just knock that out? You're late. And I hate doing it to him. You know what I mean? Because the guy doesn't ride me a whole lot. And when he does, even though I hate it, I'm like, yeah, all right, I deserve this one a little bit. Right? Like there's a little bit of that. And so I try not to get his tower buzzed a whole lot by being delinquent about those things, and I didn't do it. So it's like, all right, he's meaning business about that one. We will get that done. Yesterday's program, 9 a.m., that's New Turd Tuesday. Now, local artists, if you're in, band, singer, songwriter, hip-hop artist, whatever the hell it is, I want to hear it, we want to play it, we want to judge it. For crying out loud. Find me, Stansberry, at WRQK.com. I'm on the socials, too, The Stansberry Show. You can also text in 330-450-7625. Start the conversation that way. Let's get your songs in here. Let's get you guys played. But yesterday, one of the songs we played was New Linkin Park. And I have been, I guess, complimentary, if you will, about the new Linkin Park songs. Because I'm kind of known to kind of hate everything. But when they came out with the Emptiness Machine, I was like, we played this for New Turd Tuesday a while ago, too. And I said, well, today, we decided to give you the newer of the tracks. Heavy as the Crown. And this one will sound a little familiar. It may sound like this. It's going to sound a lot like this one because it is.
Oh, goddamn motherfucking son of a fucking bitch!
Times, Airborne, Kiss, Godsmack, I mean, Pearl Jam, I mean, like the amount of bands. It's okay. You sound how you sound. It's just kind of how that works, right? So this was the one we played yesterday, Heavy as the Crown. And I like it less than I like The Emptiness Machine, which I'm surprised by because Bleed It Out is a song by Linkin Park I love.
I thought they were fucking done with this horse shit.
But I feel like she's doing her job and doing it pretty well. And I think she gets judged.
Couldn't do it right the first fucking time, or
like
what?
A man would be judged even more harshly. And with her, it's like, well, you really can't expect Chester, right? It's a woman versus a man. It's going to sound different. It's going to be this. And you get a little leeway there. And I think Shinoda knew that. But I do feel like she's pretty good at it. And I got called out on the mat on this yesterday. This is what you asked for. That ashes raining down thing works. It's just kind of the right line for this type of song. So, all right. So now, what we should say is, traditionally, I am a fan of female singers, right? There are a few of them I don't like. I'm not a big Gwen Stefani guy. There are a few, right? But like traditionally, I'm a fan. I like Hole. I like Garbage. I like it. You know, I'm into stuff. Okay? I guess you could say a little bit more tolerant to it than what I should say here is I am more tolerant to the female lead singer in rock than what the stereotype of what a male rock fan is. I say that because I don't think most men really, it's a woman, I hate it, right? Like, men spend most of their time chasing women. I don't think we hate them as much as people want to say that we do, right? Every guy I know spends all of his time trying to, get next to a woman. I don't think we hate them as much as people think we do. But I could be wrong, right? But I got called out on this yesterday. This in my text messages. I don't mean the text line for the studio, I mean my phone. And somebody said to me, dude, you're too nice to this. You're being way too complimentary to this. You can't put a female lead singer in Linkin Park. And I said, well, not only can you do it, they have done it. And, by the way, have made not one, but 2 songs that I like as much as anything I heard off of the last couple of albums they made with Chester. Now, Linkin Park fans, before you get the pitchforks out, I will tell you, I probably have not listened to those projects as closely as their earlier works. All right? Maybe I should. Maybe I should go back and listen to some of that stuff. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. So, yes, they can do it. So, of course, when people want to be critical of something a musical opinion I have, what do? Well, they go to the Kiss well. That's what you do. You go to the Kiss well, because he'll get real defensive then,
Don't
right?
fucking slow down. Keep going.
What do you do if this is Kiss? I said, what, are you kidding me? It's like Eric Carr died of cancer. I was like, bro, they put that next dude in that band inside of like 20 minutes. The guy was literally dying in the hospital. They were in the studio finishing up the cuts of the album with another guy at the kit. Like, what are you talking about? They literally painted 2 other dudes up in the original suits, original bits, and called them Spaceman and the Cat and like this stuff, and went and toured for 20-some years. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I have been accepting of this. Now, I said I don't necessarily need new merch with, the new Kiss faces on it, this and that. I just, but like, do you play live? Am I going to go hear Deuce? Probably. And that's kind of how I feel about this. And he said to me, he goes, well, all right. There's a difference between replacing a guitar player and a drummer and a guy whose voice is the whole release of the song you've been saying that. I was like, okay, you're not wrong. He says, so Kiss comes back out, and it's now female Gene Simmons. Do you like that? And here's the thing. My answer was yes. My answer was yes. I swear to God. Now, everybody's going to think I'm nuts. But if you tell me Gene Simmons has died, there's no option to get him back out there. Paul's like, you know what? Ace Pete, I'm willing to give you one more shot. It was really Gene who hated you. I'm fine. Let's go collect a couple $100 million together, right? And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go get this lady, and we're actually going to put her in the Jean costume, and we're going to make her the demon. You tell me Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, Peter Criss are touring the world as Kiss, and Ann Wilson is dressed up in the Boots face paint and singing the demon role? Yeah, bro.
You have to recognize that one of his greatest strengths is his voice, which makes him sound sexy and smart. Sexy and sexy.
On Rock 1069.
Keep thinking today's Thursday. I don't know why that is. Well, we are scheduled to do some studio upgrades in here on Thursday, so maybe that's what it is. I'm not looking forward to it. It's one of those things where it's like I'm going to have to relearn a whole new program on how we run the radio station. There's been about, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been about 5 times that's happened in my career. One of them was because I left a radio station and went and worked for a competitor, and their system was like, jeez. It was like old school. It's mostly going to be fine once you figure it out. It's pushing buttons, moving this and dragging this and doing that. It's just like this one. It'll just, it'll be some. I'm not necessarily looking for it in a way I haven't had to in a while, because you just kind of know how the setup is and what works and what doesn't, what goes there and what those. Like I say all the time, if you shut all the lights off in this studio, I can tell just by the lights on the board whether or not it's set how I need it. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't even need to read the thing. I can just look at the Millennium Falcon board and go, yep, nope, this goes here, that goes there. It's kind of weird. So maybe that's why I think it's Thursday. Anywho, we had been talking a little Linkin Park. And look, this happens when you put the band back out on the road and make new music and the like with, after somebody has passed on. Or just replacing a band member. That can be very controversial, too. Pantera, it's not like it's been, all roses out there for those guys. Plenty of people talking trash about that, money grabbing or whatever and all of this. I think people who have seen Pantera at those shows have walked away going, oh man, performances were pretty good. I'm happy I got to see those songs and celebrate that and do all of that. It all depends on, what type of person you are. I think if I was much younger, I would care much more about it. Like, you can't do it, the legacy and this. And it's just like, now it's like I'm old and exhausted, not sure I care, right? But people do have strong opinions about this Linkin Park replacement. And I think it really does speak volumes about Chester, right? Because he made a connection that most performers want to make, set out to make, and most will fall short of. He made one. He just did. And for me, he was the star of the show. I mean, Shinoda's fine, right? And he clearly has some talent in the writing, and you know what I mean? It's a little yin and yang there. You kind of needed a little bit of both. Column A, column B, kind of needed a little bit of both. Okay, fair enough. Right? But while listening to the end result, Chester's the part that really hit home for me, right? Tammy says, that new Linkin Park has got a little bit of a spirit box feel to it. It's got a little bit of that in it. She says, now look, I do think Spirit Box is better at that than... Oh, she did it backwards. That's not unpleasant. Okay, alright, I hear it. Listen, like I said, there's a guy in the building here who's been on me for years about it. He's like, dude, you need to be listening to more Spirit Box. Maybe I do. Now this I found interesting. Safety, not necessarily a Chester fan, said, she's like, Linkin Park's music, and she's like, I actually view this differently than you did, Stansbury. She's like, I like their music, and I like the Shinoda parts. Chester, however, made me want to rip my hair out. So I've never been a big Linkin Park fan. The new stuff I'm kind of digging. I think she's exactly what they need. Well, that's an interesting way to say it, because I think if Chester were still here, I don't think any but most people, obviously not you, Stacy, as you were not a Chester fan, but I don't think most people were looking at Linkin Park and going, we could just get a different component here. If we could just fine-tune this here, these guys on top of it, and had owned it, right? Kind of done that. the very unfortunate circumstance of one of your singers, and that matters, committing suicide, and you want to move forward, and I would imagine the performer would want the project to move forward. I really do. I think most people would be like, wait, don't let me stand in the way of this. Right? I think that's how most performers, creatives, would look at it. I could be wrong. I could be selfish and look at me and needy and all that. That could be part of that too. Right? But if you find yourself in that circumstance, that I think what they ended up with, Emily, I think what they found exactly what they needed. I don't know. I mean, that's a custom tailored statement, but I feel like a man taking over for Chester would be, I don't know if I can say more harshly judged, because she's being judged pretty harshly simply because she's a woman by something. But I think the better way to say it is, I think the expectation that a man sound exactly like Chester would be more alive, right? Like, that would definitely be more the thing. It'd be like, it's not exactly like him. I don't know. It's not going to be good. Where with her, you kind of know. Before she opens her mouth to sing one note, you know, it's not going to sound like him. It's not. Like, it's not going to do that. So, like, at least for me, it was kind of like, well, like, you kind of know that going in. And so what I got out of it at the end of the day, I thought was pretty good. Now, I'll kind of take or leave my Linkin Park fandom these days. The songs are great. Crawling and In the End and all the hits, they're all great. They're all great. They're all on playlists. I got this and that. I wasn't necessarily looking for new Linkin Park music. I kind of fell off that train a while ago. But hearing the two new songs, The Emptiness Machine, I think that one is better for me personally. And now Heavy as the Crown, I got to tell you, I actually thought, I was like, this might blow up in their face. And those two songs are too good to make that prediction any longer.
The Stansberry Show.
I propose we head for the Mars.
On Rock 106.9.
It's 330-450-7625 to text your studio. Microphone talkback button on iHeartRadio's out there too. 9 a.m., let's rock the bank. Give you $1,000 for whatever you need. You're going to hear the word economy only 10 million times between now and when you go vote, so it's clearly an issue. Get you some money for that at 9. They were starting to say, the reports were, that the inflation issues were starting to ease in the country a little bit. Now, I know as I say that, plenty of people are going to be like, not in my house, not in my store, not in, right? But the reports were that we were starting to see some easing of those issues. Now, however, probably that will come to a halt now. Most of you have probably heard that the United States now experiencing its first East Coast port strike since 1977. Yeah, that's bad. I'll tell you, it's 50,000 workers. I think they're rounding up. I'm seeing, some other reports at 45,000, and I guess, you're within the margin of error there. So my first takeaway, first and foremost, is the sheer number of employees, right? And, people will talk about, like, that's too many people out of work. We got to get people back work. And all of that's true, and I would align with that. I can't stop thinking about the fact that this is a crazy word to use, only 50,000. Like, the entire port structure on the East Coast. It almost feels like that should be more people, right? Of goods that you and I consume and use go through these ports. I've seen other numbers at 35%. The U.S. Maritime Alliance, known as the USMS strike, that it was proud of its offer to the union. A collective bargaining process that allows us to fully bargain wages, benefits, technology, and ensures the safety of our workers day in and day out. I'll stop here in that statement to say I'm willing to bet the safety issues on that job are, and I'm sure that's probably one of those things that technology has helped the safety of that job get better, right? I'm sure that's partially true. I'm willing to bet there's still a lot to be worried about out there doing that job. Their statement continues. The group said, we have demonstrated a commitment to doing our part to end the completely avoidable ILA strike. Our current offer of a nearly 50% wage increase exceeds every other recent union settlement. Back at the but there is going to create price increases at some point. There's already been warnings put out to companies. Hey, we know you have an opportunity to price gouge here. We're going to be watching you to make sure that people don't be doing that. We know we're going to see it in places, and this is going to happen. I guess if you want to, let's park the percentage of it. 20, 30, 40, whatever it is. I don't know that. Traveling around the country right now, telling everybody how you're going to fix every last problem. We're the barrier between them getting every leverage right now. Now Brian brings up an interesting and factual points. Like, dude, it's the end of the fiscal year, right? It's like, come on, man. He's like, this stuff ends now, and they just start negotiating. It's just kind of the way it is. It's the schedule, just kind of how it goes. Yeah, it's probably, there's truth in that too, right? Now, I took this from a listener of mine who says, man, what these workers are looking for is a little nuts though, right? Said, he was hearing anywhere between $90 and $120 an hour. That's crazy. And look, I hadn't heard those numbers, and I said, well, is it? I feel like there's one of these things in this. Everybody feels like they should be paid a lot of money. No, nothing else should be expensive, right? It's one of those weird things. And I'm not on Doug, but what I'm saying is, if you got McDonald's signs out there at over $20 an hour, what do you have to pay a decent longshoreman? My 60 here. Here's your fries. See you later. Messages. I'm sorry. That's always been the argument against raising the fast food salaries and wages, right? It's like, well, once you do that, then every job, right? It was always the paramedics. You're getting too close to what paramedics make. It always feels weird. I have been paid throughout my career too much money to stand in a bar for 2 hours. So it always feels a little strange when I start to get critical about money people are looking to get paid for stuff, right? Now, again, he's telling me that number 90 to 120. I'm not seeing. What I am seeing here is that the union had been demanding for a 6-year kind of contract, and what they were looking for was a $5 an hour increase each year of a 6-year deal. It would have raised what they say here, CNN.com, top hourly pay from $39 to $69 an hour. They're saying management can afford that easily. I gotta be honest with you. If you tell me somebody working on the port makes $70 an hour, I'm not shocked by that. Especially when I think about where those ports are. One of the things I love about living in Canton, Ohio, is the cost of living. It's pretty good. Even for Ohio, that's cheaper than some other places I've lived, Oregon and Nevada, right? Like, even Ohio overall, cheaper than some other places. But Canton, cheaper than Cleveland.